And we all understand that, lakhs of aspirants sit for this examination, but not many clear this. Why? What is the problem? Where is the issue? The issue is with respect to targeted approach. There is a perception about the subject that it is loaded with facts. It is full of facts. You are not able to understand. So the problem is not that it is loaded with facts. The problem is that you are not able to appreciate and acknowledge the fact. You are not able to understand the feature of any part of history or civilization or the legacy. Even clearing prelims, this subject is a challenge. And the challenge again is not the sources, the challenge is relatability, the challenge is consolidation, the challenge is where actually you want to or you have to read between the lines. You are not preparing the subject from the perspective of how elimination traps could set. So, what we will be doing is through images, through maps, right, by giving you those kind of facts which are very less, yet you will be able to solve many questions on the basis of that, is what the approach would be. That in these classes there will be integration of current affairs as well as NCRTs as well as PYQs done, because if we are all targeting that you all should clear prelims, it is not going to happen if there is no one-stop solution. We understand what all challenges you face. There is this specific focus on also giving you awareness about the UPSC elimination traps. There was this priest king figure, but in certainty we cannot say who the figure represented, right? So what could be the common traps? Elaborate rituals, temples, priesthood. When you make sense like this, I feel the prelims preparation becomes very specific and targeted. Hello, dear students. How many of you are still fearing ancient, medieval, and culture? I know many of you are having this anxiety over these subjects. So let me tell you that Vision Eyes is coming up with this new prelim speed up course where I will be taking up your ancient, medieval, and culture. You must be wondering that why all of a sudden this is the course which we are bringing up. Because we get a lot of students coming to us to have such a dedicated course where they are able to solve their problems with a very targeted approach. Not all subjects seem very heavy to many of you. But then there are subjects like ancient, medieval, and culture, like environment, science, and tech, which makes you feel, not so confident. So that is why we are coming up with this course. So why this course in the very first place? Obviously, you are all targeting prelims 2026 as well as the future prelims examination. And we all understand that, lakhs of aspirants sit for this examination, but not many clear this. Why? What is the problem? Where is the issue? The issue is with respect to targeted approach. The issue is with respect to the consolidation of the material. The issue is with respect to that you are not able to cultivate the test taking abilities or skills which are very much essential in prelims examination. So the problem is not you. The problem is that you are not able to understand how to manage all of this. So that is why we have come up with this dedicated, specific course for ancient, medieval, and culture. Right? Now, why ancient, medieval, and culture in the very first place? We all know by now what is the UPSC trend for these three subjects. So, talking about that, it has a lot of weight, it has a lot of stake nowadays in prelims examination, right? Every year, there are around 10 to 12 questions which are coming from these three subjects together. There has also been a year where there have been more than 16 questions asked in these three subjects. So that is creating that fear and anxiety in the minds of the students. Secondly, the best part is that having so many questions should not worry you. Why? Because there is predictability in these subjects. There are recurrent themes which the UPSC focuses. So, whatever fear and anxiety you all are having, please take it out. There is a perception about the subject that it is loaded with facts. It is full of facts. You are not able to understand. So, the problem is not that it is loaded with facts. The problem is that you are not able to appreciate and acknowledge the fact. You are not able to understand the feature of any part of history or civilization or the legacy. And that is what this course will help you to understand. So, till the time we don't understand what are the recurrent themes, what are the themes which you need to target. So, when I tell you this, that in UPSC, when it comes to ancient Indian history, there are, very less themes which UPSC focuses. So, for example, Indus Valley, for example, Mauryan Age, for example, Guptas, for example, important places, cultural places. So, you all by now know this, right? So, you all have gone through the previous year questions. But where is still the challenge coming from? That you are treating history as a very factual and boring subject, right? So there is where the problem is lying. You are not, having that kind of interest. Why? Because the books are very boring. NCRTs are all black and white, right? So that's where you are not able to build that association. In fact, in medieval Indian history also, you have very limited themes when it comes to UPSC PYQs in the last 12, 13 years. For example, Delhi Sultanate, for example, Mughals, for example, Vijayanagar, term-based questions, some early regional kingdoms, right? So the problem is not with respect to themes, also in culture. So you all know by now that Buddhism, Jainism you have to cover. You all know by now that literature questions come. You all by now know paintings, dance, music, architecture is what you have to focus. So why you still are not able to do? Because one element is that you're not able to integrate it with current affairs. Lot of questions in ancient medieval and culture AMC are now being integrated with current affairs by UPSC. So just to show you one or few examples, for example, the question is on Chaucer Yogini Temple of Morena, right? All the three statements are pertaining to its fundamental aspect. One statement, when was it built, during whose reign it was built, what kind of temple it was, right? Whether it is the only circular temple built in India. Third, it was meant to promote Vaishnav cult in the region. And the fourth statement is what is the current affairs aspect. Its design has given rise to a popular belief that it was the inspiration behind the Indian Parliament building, right? So this is where I feel many students are not able to relate and connect with current affairs. So that makes this section a bit challenging. So you come across a news, you read the newspaper. For example, there have been inaugurations done of the statues by, let's say, Prime Minister, President, but they are not going to ask you where that inauguration happened. They are going to ask you that what that personality's contribution is, his philosophy, right? So that is where the catch you have to take, right? Even in this question, despite of the inauguration done by the prime minister, the most conventional sort of question could have been where it has been recently inaugurated. So this information they are already giving you in the question. What they want to ask, that if the statue of Ramanuj is the world's second tallest statue in the world, which has been inaugurated by the prime minister, what are the teachings of Ramanuj? So again, this integration of static with current affairs is what you have to focus. Similarly, when it comes to UNESCO World Heritage Sites, right? So for example, this question. So in 2021, there has been a question where UPSC had asked that, because Dholavira got inscribed in the UNESCO's World Heritage Site list, so they asked a description about Dholavira, right? So UNESCO, GI tags, current affairs, there is where I feel, UPSC is now dwelling into, right? Let me give you one example of how you need to integrate and understand or read ancient medieval and culture, right? By giving you a very uh, relatable example of Indus Valley civilization. So the class specifically is designed for all kinds of students, whether they have appeared for prelims before, whether they are going to appear in the prelims before. Why? Because even despite of you, preparing for prelims, even clearing prelims, this subject is a challenge. And the challenge again is not the sources, the challenge is relatability, the challenge is consolidation, the challenge is where actually you want to or you have to read between the lines. You are not preparing the subject from the perspective of how elimination traps could set, by a UPSC. What you are focusing on just fact memorization. So this is where I feel that I should intervene to change your mindset about this, subject. So let's take up the example of Indus Valley civilization. If you see, this image, there is this grid pattern, there is this market, there is a layout which has been followed, and the characteristic of Indus Valley civilization is also town planning and urban civilization, right? So the kind of pedagogy that I will be using in the class will be strictly aligned with UPSC, will be strictly aligned to create that interest, will be strictly aligned to, demand from you minimum effort on, memorization. So what we will be doing is through images, through maps, right? By giving you those kind of facts which are very less, yet you will be able to solve many questions on the basis of that, is what the approach would be, right? So the learning outcome is strictly aligned with the prelims paper, right? So as I told you, all the useful and relevant facts, not only from NCERT, but also your certain standard textbooks, your PYQs will also be integrated, not of, UPSC Civil Services Prelims examination, but also, CAPF, CDS, all such examinations which are conducted by UPSC, the facts or the topics which have been asked, in these subjects would be integrated. So let me give you an example now. So when we talk about Indus Valley civilization, why it is known as Indus Valley civilization, if we understand, are half of the problems are solved. Indus, why? Because it is situated, or it got emerged around the Indus Valley, Indus River Valley, right? Why it is a civilization? So civilization is having the set rules, the system of governance, a layout, a planning, proper rules, proper order, right? There is this urban planning, there is this, focus on trade that goes, into civilization. There is a requisite amount of technology that is part of civilization, right? So all of that, if we understand, we make sense of this Indus Valley civilization. So there are other names to this civilization. For example, Bronze Age. Why Bronze Age? Because the metal that was known to them was bronze. Bronze comes from copper and tin, right? Why it is known as Harappan civilization? Because Harappa was the first site to be discovered by the archaeologist in 1921. That's why its name was kept as Harappan civilization. So when we understand these basic nuances, we make sense of how we need to go ahead. Now, once we have got to know this, right, we also have to understand why UPSC focuses on sites. Do you have to remember all the sites? No. There are certain sites which are very remarkable in the, from the point of view of excavation, that it has revealed that unique feature or characteristic that has made our understanding about Indus Valley civilization more simpler, right? So what kind of sites, how the maps are to be read, right? This is where many students are having challenge. For example, this is a map which has been given in your NCERT. Now what does the map say? some important mature Harappan sites. Now, many students, despite of having gone through this map, would not have noted down that all of these sites which are part of it are mature Harappan sites, right? Then there is another map which the NCERT has given, where only early Harappan occupations are, mentioned. So there can be a question on this line that, UPSC might give you a statement that, let's say, Dholavira is the early Harappan site. So that would be wrong. So these are these finer details which you are missing out. Similarly, when you read the description or a box given in NCERT, what does it say? Nearly 2/3 of the settlements are in Saraswati Basin. This is an important objective fact which has been mentioned. What if UPSC gives you that nearly 2/3 of the sites are located around the Indo-Gangetic plain? It would be wrong, right? So this is where again the attention should be focused, right? Next, when we talk about other finer details, your NCERT misses out on images, right? Now, these classes would help you to correlate and associate with the kinds of arts that were prevalent or the Indus Valley people indulged into. For example, there is this wheel-made pottery. So there are these designs. There is this perforated pottery which had holes. What could have been the purpose of perforated pottery? To sieve anything, right? So these are again those things which you need to know. And also, if I may tell you, that you don't find paintings in Indus Valley. The only kind of painting or artistic element which you find in Indus Valley are mostly seen in the potteries or pots. This is another area which I feel that you should be knowing, because again the statement could be that the Indus Valley people painted on the walls, which would be wrong. Their walls were not painted. The only paint or creative element which we saw predominantly was on the potteries, right? This is again, I feel that the students are not able to appreciate and acknowledge because they don't know all such things, right? So even if you get a very simple question like this, you may get confused, right? Similarly, this is also what is given in your NCERT, that most Harappan settlements have a small high western part and larger lower eastern section. That means your small high part was on the western side and the large section or the citadel was on the eastern side, right? Dholavira and Lothal are the sites where the entire settlement was fortified, right? These are again those useful facts which probably I feel again you miss out, right? So in the classes, all of that will be given to you. The integration with NCERTs, with images is what the intention is. And obviously, when we are doing history without maps should not make sense. Doing history without chronology also does not make sense. So all of that would be part of it. Just to give you another example, how images are very, very important for this subject, right? In minimum effort, you can draw maximum result. And how? This is the image of Rigvedic phase or the Vedic phase, right? What are you able to infer from this image? That there is this yajna happening, right? There is this fire altar, there are priests, this is, husband and wife sitting. There is this Guru Shishya parampara going on. There are, people, warriors coming on horses and chariots, right? Before this, horse was not known, so significantly. There have been superficial remains in Indus Valley civilization, but not, with precision we can say, with certainty we can say that it was a horse, right? So here we see horse. Here we see cow, right? So all this becomes part of it. And when you see it, the information you are able to remember. Similarly, when we talk about Guptas, right? So how does the Gupta extend look like when they were at peak? What all dynasties they were contemporary to, right? For example, when we talk about Guptas, right, we have Vakataks, we have Western Kshatrapas, right? We have Pallavas, right? So all this is very, very important. And when the Guptas decline, or when the post-Guptas were there, how the map is to be, understood, or who were the contemporaries. So what do we see? The Guptas are limited to Magad or Patliputra. They are known as late Guptas or Guptas of Magad. Then you have Chalukyas of Badami, you have Maitrakas of Vallabhi, you have Mokharis of Kannauj, you have Pushyabhutis of Staneshwar, right? So this is where again, this helps you in building that understanding. And as I showed you previously also, that in these classes there will be integration of current affairs as well as NCRTs as well as PYQs done. Because, if we are all targeting that you all should clear prelims, it is not going to happen if there is no one-stop solution, if you are not able to consolidate at one place all the information. That is why this course becomes very, very important, right? So alongside NCRTs, whether old, new, whether PYQs or not, everything would be covered, right? Let me give you another, way which I will be specifically using in these classes, right? So in these classes specifically, because we understand what all challenges you face, there is this specific focus on also giving you awareness about the UPSC elimination traps. So when we talk about Indus Valley civilization, we need to understand the most important focus trend and themes of UPSC. So for example, town and urban planning, right? For example, economy. For example, religion and society, art and craft. They are very, very important themes which are picked up by UPSC, right? Why? Why? Because it was a civilization. Why? Because without you not knowing this, you will not be able to understand what was the life of the people. And life of the people is what UPSC is focusing, right? So when we talk about town and urban planning, there is a citadel, lower town, burnt bricks of standard ratio, drainage system, grid pattern, windows not facing roads. This is very limited and specific information that when you read this, you make an image out of it. But what about when the questions come? How have I, integrated all of that to make you understand in the class itself how you have to understand this town planning beyond this? So one thing, after all of the experience and wisdom I have accumulated in the last 20 years, right? I can say that there are the traps which the UPSC set also has some kind of logic, also has some kind of comparative element. And how? So when it comes to elimination traps in town and urban planning, firstly, when you read all of the features, you need to have an understanding that in an advanced civic planning or town planning cannot have or did not have royal architecture. What does that suggest? That suggests one thing: there were no royal buildings of grand monumental, size. We do not have, any king, in place. There was a centralized authority because we have, standardized ratio of bricks used, right? We have seals been using, used in that phase, but we cannot say that there was one class, right? So there are no palaces, there are no Raj temples, there are no religious structures. Or UPSC also ask this. I will show you that how the questions are framed on these lines. Once we understand this, we get to know how the questions are asked. So, for example, in 2013, UPSC asked the characteristics of the people of Indus Valley civilization. That means why they are focusing on the life of the people, because that's where we draw the information from. What have they asked? They possessed great palaces and temples. Why would an urban town planning civilization would have great palaces and temples? No. Temples to bilkul nahi, and palaces also no, right? Secondly, they worship both male and female deities. Third, they employed horse drawn chariots in the warfare. So, when I showed you that image of Vedic age, there I showed you that, the people or the warriors were coming on horse driven chariot. So, there is this comparative elimination or the sense which UPSC is focusing on, right? Let me give you another example of how, you need to understand this topic. So when it comes to society, it was likely egalitarian, although we could infer that there were class differences because of the location of citadel, which was a raised, town, and lower town on the other side, right? There is no clear king or priest. So, what could be elimination traps? That there is hereditary monarchy, that there is this rigid caste system, there was class. There might, be seen or inferred class differences, but not caste. Similarly, when we talk about religion, nature and animal worship was practiced, right? There was worship of female or mother goddess. There was this phallic worship, that means genital worship, right? Fire altars were also found, but they were in limited number. There was this priest king figure, but in certainty we cannot say who the figure represented, right? So, what could be the common traps? Elaborate rituals, temples, priesthood. When you make sense like this, I feel the prelims preparation becomes very specific and targeted. And that's what you all have to do. Let me take you to another example. So, you all know that in this script is in the news, right? So, this is what you have to make sense. Only this much. If you understand the nature, any future question on Indus script would be easily solvable. For example, it is pictographic, right? It's mostly written right to left, but left to right could also be seen. That's why it is known as Boustrophodon. So, what could be the elimination traps? That it is alphabetical, that it is fully deciphered. It is a long script. No, it's not a long script. The only long, structure which we have found where the script was there was a 12 signboard, right? Again at Dholavira. So we cannot say that it was a long script, right? Again, the traps could be set in this regard with respect to Indus Valley script. And if you see the questions also, like for example, in 2017, they had asked about the comparative, question on IVC and Vedic age. So for example, statement number 2, Indus Valley people knew only copper and iron. Rig Vedic Aryans knew gold, silver, and copper. My first, you know, uh, priority to let you know how to solve the questions and how you are going wrong while studying for UPSC is that you will now be focusing on the metals that were known to them. UPSC is not checking that. UPSC is checking, are you able to identify the core characteristic feature of Indus Valley? So you all know that it was a Bronze Age. How could iron be found? Iron Age was again a discovery or a thing that was prominent when we are talking about the Mahajanpad or Janpad phase, and because of iron only that the people could clear or cut the forest. That is why the habitation could be seen in around the Indo-Gangetic plains, right? So this is where the catch is, right? Next, if I again show you the question which UPSC has asked, right, with respect to crafts. So in your NCRT, there is mention of crafts of Indus Valley, right? So what do you have? You have stone craft or stone statues, you have bronze statues, and you have terracotta statues. So among the bronze, you have dancing girl and you have bronze bull figure. UPSC in 2025 has asked on bronze dancing girl. right? So only three keywords are there: stone sculptures, bronze, and terracotta. In the bronze, because it was a metal, you have dancing girl and bull figure. What if they give you a statement that, using bronze only, dancing girl figure was seen? No, there was a bull figure also, right? So this is where again I feel the catch is, and students are not able to appreciate and acknowledge that, right? So this was the question which was asked by UPSC, and that is where I feel that you all should be focusing upon. Now, coming to again, I have given you an insight about the future question that could come in Indus Valley civilization that can be linked with script, and why? Because of the current affairs. So you all must be knowing that Indus Valley script is in the news because of Tamil Nadu government recently, coming up with the prize whoever deciphers it. Then there are a lot of articles also coming. There is recently, in 2025, an international conclave to decode on Indus Valley script. So we are putting efforts to decode it, decipher it, right? So that's where the question could come. And this is what is given in your NCRT. So what is given in terms of NCRT? So Harappan seals usually have a line of writing. What does it say further? That most inscriptions are short. That means the trap could be set on that the inscriptions are long, right? The longest containing site, inscription was about 26 signs, right? There are signs where we could get a range of 375 and 400, but they are very much restricted. Mostly it was written from right to left, right? So traps, not alphabetical. They will give you that it was alphabetical. So it was pictographic. It was boustrophodon. So this is what you at the max have to do and understand. So with this, I would like to, tell you about the other features of this course. Besides me teaching you this way, you will also get a very targeted, concise, exam-oriented study material, which would be your base, which is integrating other facts besides, your NCRT and UPSC PYQ integration. Then you all will be having in that prelims material repeated revision and quick factual recall. Short summaries would be given, tables would be given, comparative boxes would be given, maps would be given, right? Alongside this, in this course, you will also have 4 tests which are again based on whatever has been covered in the classes. And obviously, if you are joining any course specifically for prelims, without you assessing what have you gained, what has been your learning outcome, it would be incomplete. So that's also where you need to understand all of that, right? So I hope you are coming to the class, and I also hope that the classes are enjoyable, as well as you fall in love with ancient medieval and culture. So all the very best, guys.